you ever had that moment when your mind goes completely blank? We might call it old timers disease, or we might say, this has happened to me on many occasions, even when I was younger. I'm going to go with that one. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And it's such a beautiful day here where I am in Florida. It's absolutely, it's started out at 64 degrees this morning. It's warmed up just a little bit. It's probably somewhere in the 70s, and it's just beautiful. My wonderful hibiscus are going crazy. My exorias are going crazy. What can I tell you? The garden is filled with yellows and oranges and reds. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful here. And so far, I've also had a really, really good week. I've been taking some consultations that I think went really well. And what else have I been doing? I have not cooked at all. Wow. My friend Susan left on Monday, I think it was, Monday or Tuesday, whenever. And I haven't cooked a thing so far. I'm itching to get in the kitchen. I'm itching to find something to cook. And my fabulous neighbour, Henrik, I've got the best neighbours in the world. I've got the best neighbours I've ever had. My fabulous neighbour, Henrik, actually handed me a pack of lamb shanks and said, you cook for me. So we're doing those at the weekend, or I'm doing those at the weekend. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm missing my cooking. I think I might make an egg custard. Yeah, that sounds good. I might make an egg custard today. That sounds a really good idea. I've got eggs, I've got milk, I've got sugar, I've got a little bit of, I actually have some fresh nutmeg, which I can grind. Yeah, that works for me. A lot of people will look at it and say, what is that? Is that invalid food? That's for those of you who don't know what a good egg custard is all about. Anyone listening this morning who's from my side of the pond will know exactly what a good egg custard looks like. Right, before we go, sorry, I was going to say I'm not coughing anymore, but there we are. Before we go any further, because I'm rambling, I'm in the mood to ramble this morning. So before we go any further, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Gregel, who is, as always, with me. And I'd like to say good morning to you, Chris, our fabulous facilitator. And of course, I'd like to say good morning to you, all of you who have joined us. But there is a question in my mind here. So, Chris, I have to ask, I have to ask, is there anybody there? Actually, is there really anybody there? Or am I just rambling along all by myself?
No, we have all your oldies but goodies in the chat room. It's great to see everybody, all the familiar names.
Good. Well, good. Well, we're pleased to be here. I'm really pleased to be here, getting back on track, hopefully, with stuff. So let me think. Before we go any further, yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I'm listening to somebody else. Dean must be on this morning, and so I want to say to Dean, thank you for letting me know. My heart goes out to you. We're talking about our beloved animals who, don't you hate when you have to make that decision to it's time. You say to yourself, but I don't want it to be time, but it's time, and I know I should do this. When we have pets, we have the responsibility at some point in the future of having to make the decision as to, when they need to go. if we're fortunate, I remember having a fantastic puppy of my own, yeah, gosh, years ago, Karma, and he was huffing and puffing, and you could see that he was having problems with his lungs and his breathing and his heart and so on, and that had, you know, the vet had said doesn't look good, Rosemary, and I just kept hoping and hoping that he would just go to sleep, and then I wouldn't have to make the decision, because having to make the decision for our beloved pets is, it's so hard, it's so difficult, and we're left feeling sometimes guilty, we're left feeling, should I have given them more time, is it the right time, etc., etc. But you know, it's so, when it's time, it's time. And we have to rely on God, we have to rely on our own feelings, our own sensitivity, and we have to rely on the fact, the understanding that none of us can go before our time. So I know that sounds like an odd thing to say, but I truly believe that none of us can go before our time. So even though we're making the decision, I feel that the decision has already been made for us, and we're just carrying out what is necessary. So, Dean, I have thought about you a lot this week, and I know it's been really painful for you, but absolutely, I'm totally believe that you did absolutely the right thing. And I love the, you sent me an email. I love the little cardboard flip reminding you to give an aspirin. I thought that was very cute. But anyway, so for all of you out there who have had to make the decision, you know, whether it's, you know, to take that step and to, you know, and to have your pets put down, euthanize, whatever you want to call it. It's such a hard thing, but that's what responsible owners do. So another, talking about puppies too, I've been so missing my puppies this week. I truly, Kachoro was my last one, and even as he was getting older, and my others had by this time gone, and he was the last one left, and I always knew that he would be my last, which is difficult when you've had animals, you've had pets for however many years. So for me, it's since I've been 20 something. When you've had pets for that long, you've had them, they're part of the household, they become part of you and the part of your family. It's very difficult then when there are no pets around. And there are times when I walk into my house and really miss them. And I had, this week, I had these two wonderful sisters who came to see me. They actually came to the house, and they're sitting down there looking around. And then one of them said to me, "Do you have any animals?" It was heartbreaking for me to have to say no. Of course, I have lots of them. They visit me from time to time. But it's very different having an animal physically. And the times I've been tempted to do it, but it would be so irresponsible of me to do it, because, you know, when I go, who takes care of the puppy? And then they miss you, and they pine for you, and they mourn for you. So I'm not prepared to do that, because it just would be too heartbreaking for me to do that. But anyway, all right. So Chris, I guess we better take a peek into the chat room.
All right. Well, we've got questions already. Gary has started us out with, why do people seem to forget about their faith until something forces them to turn to it?
Well, yeah. Well, I find it, you know, I like that question. I find it really interesting that the amount of people who I have personally met over the years, and I've heard other people, you know, who've told stories, Those people who say, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in praying, I'm not, I'm not a believer in anything like that. But as soon as something happens, what do? We're praying like crazy to the God we don't necessarily believe in. But I think it's because we try everything. If we have someone who's sick, for instance, or if we have a situation in our lives that seems unsolvable, I guess we're human, and I guess it's human nature for us to reach out and to try anything and everything that we can. But I think it's just human nature. I'm very fortunate because I honestly can put my hand on my heart, and I will, there you go, and say that there is not one time in my life ever, not since I was a little girl, not since my mother used to send us to church so she could see the Sunday movie, and we had to go to church. But I loved my church and I loved the people in my church. But as you get older, there are lots of questions, aren't there? We ask questions about God. We ask questions about, is it real? Isn't it? Is heaven real? Is there really such a place as heaven? And in my case, it was quite a little while before I realized, but at some point as I got older, I realized that, you know, I'm I've always considered myself to be a Christian. There are Christians who would absolutely tell me that they don't believe that I am, but I've always believed myself to be a Christian simply because I have a deep and abiding faith in Christ. I've known him since I was a little girl. And but I can honestly, hand on heart, say that I've doubted lots of things in my life. Of course, we all doubt, we all question things and so on. But I have never once in my entire existence doubted that there is a God. In whatever form we might believe, there is some higher power, let's put it that way. And I have never once ever in my entire life doubted Christ. So I think I'm fortunate in that I have this really innate, inborn faith, belief, and it consequently, it's I don't forget it. It's hard. It's hard to forget. But I think most people turn to God. A lot of people, not all people, not perhaps not most people, but a lot of people turn to God, or to Christ, or to Buddha, or to Mecca, or to wherever, to Allah, or whatever it is, whatever faith that they have. Most people will turn to that spiritual, whatever they consider their spiritual needs and wants are, and whatever their beliefs are. We turn to it in times of desperation, and it's perfectly natural. And when things are going well and when things are going fine, I guess we don't need it. We just get on with our lives. Um, you know, I think it's just human nature. I'm going to stop rambling now. Hope you got that, Gary. Which, by the way, I sent you a text today, just letting you know. Anyway, so carry on, everybody.
Andrea wants to know, is oatmeal good for breakfast? I read somewhere that it's not healthy.
Right. I actually think that oatmeal can be very good for you in moderation. Okay, but it depends on the kind of oatmeal that you get. You can get oatmeal that is ground down into, really, it's nothing more than a powder, and that I doubt that would do anybody any good. I might be wrong, but if you have whole oatmeal, you can get, I think, what do they call it? They call it iron oats. which are hard oats, but you can get softer oats. There are many different types of oatmeal. The interesting thing about oatmeal is this: if you take a little bunch of oatmeal in your hand here, and you put it into the palm of your other hand, okay, there it is, it's just sitting there. And then if you take some water and you drip it over the oatmeal, and then you very gently start to rub the oatmeal. I'm not talking about processed oatmeal, I'm talking about real oatmeal. If you rub it gently with the water, you'll start to crack the oatmeal, and inside of the oatmeal is a milky substance. And my understanding, and I've eaten oatmeal for years with this understanding, if you have, for instance, high cholesterol, or if you just feel that maybe you need to have a good clean out, the stuff, the milky stuff in oats acts like a scouring agent. I guess it's like putting a little bit of dry scouring stuff in your hand. It acts as a natural good, no chemicals in there, acts like a very positive scouring agent. And when you eat it, and you really don't need to only eat a spoon of it a day, when you eat that oatmeal, that milky substance will get into your bloodstream, and it will start to work its way through your veins. And as far as I'm aware, it has been proven, greatly proven, that that substance, that scouring agent, that milky stuff that's in the oats, actually, as it's running through your veins, as it's going through your veins, it's also helping to clean out and to scrub out the all of the plaque and the nasty stuff that can build up into your veins. So I think it's really good for cholesterol. I'm sure that other people have lots of different opinions, but that's my take on oatmeal. So I hope it helps you.
All right. Jessica says you did a reading for my mom once in Nashua, New Hampshire years ago, and it was amazing what you shared with her. Thank you.
Okay, that's so nice of you. And who was your mom? What was her name? And you said years ago, but did she record it, or did she come back and tell you all about it? I have had the best week this week. I had these two sisters, and who will be nameless because they came to me privately. They actually decided, for some reason or another, they don't live too far away, and they decided that they would like to come and have a personal consultation with me, which you can. And they came, and oh gosh, they were so nice. First of all, they were really lovely. They were great as sisters, very supportive of each other, and we had just the best time. I think I'm not telling tales out of school because you no idea who these girls are, but they wanted to connect with their mom, and they got a little bit more than they bargained for because other people were connecting as well, and we just had the best time. And it was interesting because I think that I went to a wedding in the just before the summer. I was invited to go to a wedding, and I think I might have told you all this story. On my way to the wedding, I was with my friend Mary Lou, and on the way to the wedding, we had to stop and ask these two guys who work for the town, for the council, whatever, could they direct us to where we needed to go to. And they were so nice, and they started to direct us. And as I was talking to one of these guys, I felt a definite tap on my shoulder, and looked up, and there was his father standing next to him. uh, asking me, Rosemary, can you, I need to talk to my son, can you give him a message? So we stood in the car park of the Sarasota, the Siesta Beach at Sarasota, and I gave him these great messages from his dad. And so when these lovely ladies came to see me, came to my house, I said, okay, you know, why me? What you doing here? How'd you find me? And this one girl said to me, well, you spoke to a friend of mine. He actually came just out of the blue. He came to me. He said, you'll never guess what happened today. And she started telling the story of her friend. And all of a sudden, I knew immediately who she was talking about. She was talking about this guy who I met in the car park. This is, you know, it's word of mouth. You don't have to advertise this stuff. It's word of mouth. Somebody tells somebody who tells somebody who tells somebody. And that was why the two sisters had decided, oh, maybe we should go and see this woman. Of course, they did it without knowing anything about me, which is not good. So if you're going to find a medium, if you're going to want to talk to somebody, do your research a little bit, please. And, you know, and anyway, so we had a great time. And it was so funny that I could connect these girls with an experience that I'd had just a few months earlier on Siesta Beach in Sarasota, which for anybody who doesn't know, Siesta Beach is one of the most beautiful beaches. White sand. It's like putting your feet into talcum powder. Anyway, okay, Chris, keep going.
Dean's asking, are we able to taste and eat and feel and smell in the spirit world?
Yes, but differently. And that's one of the questions for our, we're going to be talking about what it's like in the spirit world and the experiences that we can have there in our, whatever it's called, we're doing, Chris, I've forgotten, my brain keeps going a little dead on me today, but these are the things we're going to be talking about when we do our, you know, our...
Is it the Gray Eagle Speaks or the A Journey from Grief Toward Joy?
No, it's none of those things. It's when Greg and I speak. I'm going to sneeze any minute now. Then we're doing our monthly, you know, when people can subscribe. What is it?
Oh. Yeah, your subscription program.
Good Lord. Anyway, we're trying to get back on track, and we will. I promise you, we will. But they're interesting questions, I think. But we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be exploring. So we're going to be exploring so many things. But one of the things that we'll be exploring with Grey Eagle's help, and is that, you know, that what is our existence once we have passed into the spirit world. So many people say to me, well, do we have houses? Do we have churches that we can go to? What's it like? You know, what's going on? And do we feel? Do we sense? What is our existence like once we, you know, once we leave this earthly plane of ours? Once we no longer have the physical body, and although I can say a tentative yes to all of those things, Dean, it's tentative because we do all of those things, but we do them differently. That's as much as I can tell you now. Chris.
Mark has a comment in the chat room saying, a friend shared this with me. I heard somewhere that time passes differently in heaven. By the time they turn around, meaning the pets, to look for you, you'll be right behind them. And I can't unhear that.
Right. Well, it is true that time here on this earth plane, although it seems like some days it doesn't, it drags, and sometimes it goes quickly, it is true that the concept of time is very different here on this earth plane than it is on in the spirit world. So time here I would describe as a blink of an eye. Um, you know, I was once 8 years old and playing in the playground, and that seems like yesterday sometimes. I was once in my church being asked to stand in the pulpit to give a sermon to the congregation, which then I was invited to go to other churches to give sermons or to talk to people in other churches, and which I gladly did. I stood on the stage when I was on my 16th birthday, and I won a medal for drama, as did all of my group. We won first prize in a sort of huge competition that we were entered into. It seems like yesterday. Just time goes a blink of an eye. So I do understand what your friend is saying to you, that by the time we are in the spirit world, it is only a blink of an eye before, those who went before us, that we see them, we see them again. It's just a blink of an eye. So I get that, and but time is of a very different concept in the spirit world than it is here. So that is correct. Chris.
Karen's on saying, I recently read The Eagle and the Rose.
Oh, you are so sweet. Thank you. Is that it?
That's it for now.
Oh, come on, Karen. Was it good? Did you like it, or do you have an opinion? And and if you didn't like it, that's okay. Everybody has their own opinions of things, but we'd like a little input from you. I personally hope you're inspired by it, because I know that it's one of the best inspirational pieces of work for people who are dying, for people who are questioning perhaps they lost someone. They're questioning, is there life after death? It's one of the best inspirational books that anyone can ever read. And of course, I am a little biased. Having said that, I'm right to be biased, because it's after 26 or 27 years, it's still going, and you just recently read it. Just imagine that. I can remember once I sat in the garden. I thought, I'm going to write about other people's stories, because other people's stories make great stories. And that's how I began to write The Eagle and the Rose, because I never intended to write about me at all. Other people's stories are so much more fascinating to me. It seems, I remember it was a summer day, and I was sitting in a chair, and there weren't computers in those days, which I'm giving away now at my age and how old and decrepit I am becoming. And I can remember that day very clearly, but it passed. It seems like a blink of an eye. Chris.
So Karen did add to it. I loved the whole journey. It was my mom's book. She passed 16 years ago. She had some psychic abilities, so it was interesting to read your story. I even got my 15-year-old daughter to read it, and she also loved it.
Oh.
I do wonder why, Rosemary, you left the UK to live in the US. I am an Aussie currently living in the UK, but going back to Australia next year.
Yeah, I wonder that sometimes too. I think that, well, actually, a lot of it does have to do with the book, because America, if you, America is such a big country, so there are obviously more opportunities. But even though I had a couple of publishers in the UK who called me, and they were lovely, and they really, really wanted to publish the book. They were such a small company; they were only allowed to publish one book at a time. Once a year, they had one book, and my book was sort of came a close second, I believe, but it wasn't published, and so. And by this time, I'd had clients from all over the world, and we used to, again, it was before video. I'm not so old. It was before video. It was before you could get on video and so on. But I would have phone conversations with people from literally all over the world. And then I was invited by one of my clients to go visit in Connecticut, and then that client had a friend in Florida, in Orlando actually, and that when she found out that I'd said yes to the friend in Connecticut, she said, "Can you? Well, you got to both come to me as well." So I got invited there, and it happened then that another client of mine, gosh, see how this all happens? Another client of mine was in publishing, and when she found out that I was coming to the States, she invited me for lunch, and during that lunch, she said to me, "So, Rosemary, what can I do for you?" And I thought it was a very odd question, because I went for lunch, didn't go for any other reason. I went for lunch, and I said that. So I looked at her and I said, "I don't quite understand the question, but I've had a nice lunch, thank you very much." And she said, "No, no, 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 no. I really feel that you need an agent." And I said, "That's very sweet of you, and it's very nice of you, but no, I don't want to go there." But she went ahead anyway, got in touch with a friend of hers who was an agent with the William Morris agency, and there you go, see? And that's how I ended up in America, because they went to Warner Books. Warner published the book. It became a New York Times best-selling book, which was very, very nice for me. And, and so, all of the people I knew and the publishing world and so on sort of centered around the United States. So that was that. And then my daughter came to the States on I forget what, the student exchange or something. She worked for Warner Books. She loved it here, so she wanted to stay here. So because she wanted to stay here, I was not going to be where my daughter was not. That's how we came to be. See, there you are. What can I tell you? Life does have funny twists and turns, and I do believe that all of us is on a path that we choose to follow it, or we choose to ignore it, or we choose to say, "No, I'm not doing that." But when God has a real plan for us, which I think He has a plan for all of us, but in my case, the plan was set in stone, and that was the end of that. And I was happy to follow the plan, and ever since then I've been happy to follow the plan. I have a really good friend who said to me the other day, I used to be really scared of Grey Eagle, because people have asked me for years now, why don't you have a boyfriend? Why don't you have a husband? But it's kind of like, you might think that you're going to be the third wheel, because the idea of Grey Eagle watching anyone else watching me can be a bit scary, right? It's funny, That's not how it works, by the way, but still, that's a lot of people think that way. And anyway, I'm rambling again. So let's go back to the questions, Chris.
All right, Jessica responded back to you. She was the one with her mom in New Hampshire. Her name is Cheryl. I was with her. I wish we recorded it. It was a room of people, and you were choosing people based on who was coming through.
Okay.
It was my grandmother who came through, my mom's mom.
Oh, I love this. And you know what I really love is the 3 generational thing, it's sort of very nice. And, with the other lady who was talking about reading a mama's book, because this is a generational thing, it's not something that happened years ago and now is not relevant anymore. This whole thing, the journey that we're on is relevant. As I said, I wrote the Eagle and Rose, it was published. The Eagle and Rose was published 26 or 27 years ago, depending on which country you're in, because in some countries it was published sooner than others, but roughly around 27 years ago. And you can read that book today. If you sat down with that book today, it is still as relevant and as inspiring and as poignant now as it was then. And I had an amazing editor. She was great. Her name is Joanne Davis. She was amazing, and she just helped me to sort of, it's a little bit about sort of like designing where the chapters go. Where do you put this chapter? How do you do this chapter? And she was the one who suggested to me all those years ago that I sort of make the book in 5 parts, and it worked so well that every book I've ever written since then, we've used the same format. And so I've been very, very fortunate. Thank you very much for telling me about your mom, and I hope when you were there you had a great time. Of course, I was much younger then, but then so were you, right? So anyway, Chris, keep going.
Judith wants to know, do you grow any fresh veggies on your property? I think you said you have some type of oranges. I loved growing fresh veggies when I was younger.
I had an orange tree, and it was I forget now, Sweet Bell or some. Anyway, it's one of the best, the most delicious, the sweetest oranges that you can get. And I had this beautiful orange tree, and it definitely needed tending. It needed pruning back, but my enthusiastic gardener decided one day when I was not here, and he didn't think to ask me, because those people who think they know better about everything, and he was one of those. He didn't last very long, let me put it that way, but he chopped the thing down. I was devastated when I came back and found he'd chopped my orange tree down, because, even the oldest can still be goodies. So the only thing, although since I wrecked my hand, it's very difficult for me now, but the only things that I like to grow very much so now are my herbs, and I like to grow rosemary. I like to grow basil, or basil, as you might say in America. I love basil because I make my own pesto, and I have my own pesto recipe. So I like to grow different herbs, but as I say, it's not been easy the last couple of years. So for the last couple of years, no, and so I don't. But of course, also I have to be very careful with vegetables because they have oxalates. Did you know that carrots are full of oxalate? I love carrots. I used to eat them raw all the time. Very bad for me. Probably very good for most of you, but very bad for me. Anything with oxalates is really bad for me. So unfortunately, I do not grow my own veggies, but I like to use farmers markets. I like to go for fresh foods when I can, for fresh fruits and so on. Um, I'm still eating my marmalade. It's so good. It's so good. But I'm going to have to make some more probably before Christmas. And I'm feeding my Christmas cake. We have to make a little video, Chris, of me feeding my Christmas cake because, oh gosh, it smells so good when I start to feed it. Anyway, that's it. That's it. That's that question answered. Keep going.
All right. Gail says, I saw my deceased great grandfather when I was 7 years old. It was a very vivid experience and it frightened me. I wonder why he came to me. Was there a message for me?
I think that I get the being frightened thing because if you know me well and you know my story, I mean, I was surrounded by people in the spirit world, mostly who I didn't know. I heard them whispering. They would peer over me. They were obviously taking a good look at me, plotting and planning probably my life and maybe what I was going to do in the future. I don't know, but um, I think that I think it's wonderful that he came. Are you kicking yourself that you were too scared to speak to him and say hi? Because I know that that's how I feel. If only I'd been braver as a child and could have had the courage to speak to these people, I might have learned a lot sooner, a lot quicker. But I think the message is very clear. He obviously just wanted to take a look at you. Uh, you know, you may be his favorite. You may be that one child who connects to his energy. And so he's able to come and connect with you. I bet he's still around you. It's probably a long time since you've seen him, but I bet he's still around you. And I think it's just wonderful when people from the spirit world do that. I don't think they come particularly with any special message except the message of love. Here I am. I just want you to know I'm taking care of you. I'm watching over you. I can see you. I know you can see me. I can see you. And I think it's just a message from the spirit world to say we are close by you and we are still part of your family, which is wonderful, I think. Thank you for sharing that story.
All right.
Chris.
Then we have Gail. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We were just speaking with Gail. Karen says, do you have any suggestions about how to explain death and heaven to 5-year-olds? My twin granddaughters have been asking about it.
Well, first of all, I think it's fantastic. I keep meaning to write a book for kids. Maybe I will, maybe I'll do it at some point because I really do think it's children understand far more than we give them credit for. I think it's we adults are so nervous of saying the wrong thing or we're so nervous of worrying them. Um, I will tell you what I would tell my daughter when she was a little girl, and I will tell you what I told my grandson. And we talk about these things all the time. If my grandson has a question, he'll ask, talks about this stuff all the time. Um, I think we just have to, I'm going to assume, never assume, but I'm going to assume because you're asking me the question that your beliefs are somewhat similar to my own. So I would begin basically by saying, we live on this earth, but there's much more about us than we think there is, and talk to them a little bit about God and your beliefs and Jesus, which I certainly did with my daughter and my grandson. And when children are so small, I think it's good to give them, whether you believe in heaven, nirvana, whatever you want to call the place that you believe that your loved ones go to. I think I always, with small children, sort of, talk about a place that once we have left our physical body behind, we have another body inside of us, which is the same shape and same size, but it's not called the physical body, it's called the etheric body. And a little bit like, you can use the analogy of Peter Pan of flying. You can use the analogy of fairies flying or angels flying, however you want to put it to your grandchildren. But, you know, talk to them of the magic of life. And I always talk to my daughter and my grandson about the magic that we have within us, that we do have this, you know, second body, the etheric body, which is this magical thing that can help us to fly and help us to move from this earth to that fabulous place called heaven. And they'll say to you, well, what is heaven like? Or they'll ask you questions about heaven. You can tell them for sure that it's a much more colorful and beautiful place than this earth of ours, which is saying something, because this earth of ours, if it's left alone, is fantastic and beautiful, but the colors are better. The streams are almost silver, and the taste, somebody's asked earlier, can you taste the taste of a stream? If you're able to travel to the other side, the taste of the stream and the taste of the air around us is so magical. So, and this is where we go, and this is where our angels are, and this is where all of our family and friends who have gone before us, they're going to meet us, they're going to be helping us with our new life. And you know, it's a very easy concept. I like to bring magic and color into telling these stories, especially with my grandson, but also with my daughter. But I think it's, when you're talking to children, they're able to envision, they're able to visualize magic, and they know what it is somewhat. You talk about fairies, or you talk about, you know, ethereal beings, because our angels are ethereal beings, and you can describe them, and they, you know, you can say that when we die, our angels come and they take our hand and they lift us and they carry us to this magical heavenly place. That's where I would go with that. But if they're asking now at 5 years old, it means that they are really inquisitive. But I always used to say with my daughter, when she's ready, if she asks the question, doesn't matter what it is, if she asks the question, she's ready for the answer. So don't beat about the bush with these girls, and give them something that they can, you know, hang on to, and also, you know, talk to them and have a conversation with them, and you know, don't be afraid to tell them your beliefs and your thoughts on things. Chris.
Serena's on from Italy saying that your book, The Eagle and the Rose, helped me when my husband died many years ago.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments about The Eagle and the Rose today. I'm not quite sure why, but we are getting lots of comments. And I think it's so wonderful that this book, that, you know, it was supposed in my head. I had so many clients who would come to me, some of them with amazing, incredible stories, some tragic, some joyful, whatever. But I always felt that, you know, that those people in the spirit world would come, and through me, they would connect with their loved ones. And I always found their stories, the stories from the spirit world and the stories from the people I was sitting with in this physical world. I always felt that their stories were so fascinating. And I also discovered that, you know, there are so many ways to die. I didn't realize that. So I was learning a lot every time I was giving messages, every time someone would come to the house, or if I gave a workshop or something like that, there would always be that one story that I would remember. So when I actually sat down to write a book, which Gregor told me I would do at one point, and I'm thinking, really? I can't see that. But anyway, then one day I sat down with a pad and pencil or something, uh, and I started to write. It was always all about other people's stories, and and the stories that people have are they're amazing and fantastic, and I'm so interested in people and how they respond and react to their lives, what happens to them in life, tragedies, joyful things, whatever. I'm always fascinated by people. You might say that I'm a really nosy person, and that's why I'm as good at what I do as I am. And it is true. I am a very nosy person. I want to know. Tell me more. Tell me more. And so I always found that that was, something that I was interested in. And when I first presented all of these stories to my editor in New York, um, she read the stories. She was fascinated by them. She thought it was great. She'd also sat with me for a while, and I don't think she believed in anything I believed in initially, but by the time we were done, she believed. But then her biggest question to me, she read it all. She told me she was interested, and then she said, "But here's the issue, Rosemary. We've got one. There's one big problem with this book." And I looked at her and I said, "Really?" She said, "Well, there's nothing in it about you." And I said, "No, because it's a book of other people's stories, much more interesting." She said, "No." She said, "People are going to read these stories, but then they're going to say, well, who is this person? What is she about?" And so on. And so I was actually almost forced into, and I really didn't want to write anything about me, but anyway, in the end, I ended up doing that. And if you've read The Eagle and the Rose, the last chapter was the hardest chapter in that book to write, because I really didn't feel that, you know, the book should be about me. But at the same time, I do understand and understand more and more as I get older. People need to know that it's all very well. You can have sympathy for somebody else, but you can't have empathy unless you've gone through similar things yourself. So I think it's always good for us, all of us, to share with our families, with our children, with our grandchildren. It's good to share the experiences that we've had that maybe weren't so good, but then show them how we came through that and how we conquered those issues that we have. So I think it's always good to share. Chris,
Kathy says, "Good morning, Rosemary.
good morning.
I read The Eagle and the Rose 25 years ago and have reread it several times over the years.
Oh, bless you.
It's absolutely beautiful and inspiring. Thank you for writing it. A couple of months ago, you relayed to me a message from my husband, who passed this past December. It lifted my spirits tremendously. Of course, my heart is still broken, but I'm learning to watch for signs from him. Last Thursday was our wedding anniversary, the first without him. Needless to say, it was a very emotional day for me. I looked for a sign all day. Was I just too emotional to recognize it? Thank you and have a blessed day.
I love you. I do. I love that you love your husband this much. I love everything about you. Thank you very much for, you know, mentioning the eagle and the rose also. But yes, it's tough. And very often, and it's not even a year yet. So very often, and I always tell people, I think the first year is the hardest, and because we can become so shrouded in grief that we don't really see what's in front of our noses. You know what I mean? We're so It's it's so hard. It's so devastating when we've lost someone, and sometimes think I'm absolute. I can, and I have Gregor tapping me on the shoulder. See, look at this. I didn't expect that. To tell you that he was right there with you, and I think you know that, but I'm being told by Gregor that he was right there with you. But sometimes we have to work through the pain, and before we can actually open our eyes clearly, or our ears, or whatever it is, because sometimes they'll whisper to us, or sometimes they will give us signs. Sometimes they'll just be sitting behind us, stroking our hair, and but we can be so tied up in our grief and our loneliness and our loss that we are not able to um, see clearly. But keep watching, because I'll guarantee you, before very much longer, he's going to give you some signs. Guarantee it. Chris.
We're coming right up on time, Rosemary. I do have a number of questions in the chat room. I can give you a couple of quick questions to answer if you want.
Go for it.
All right.
Give me whatever you like. I'm good.
What was the name of the orange you used for your marmalade?
You've got to use Seville oranges. I'll spell it for you. Seville. Seville. They come from, or they originate, should I say, from Spain, from the, I don't know if it's a town or a city, from the region of Seville in Spain. They are very bitter. They're not the kind of orange you can pull off the tree and eat. They're bitter. They're not really a sweet orange at all. The skins are particularly bitter. But weirdly, by the time you've made it and put sugar and so on and so forth in it, definitely that they literally change. And you can literally, and Chris will bear with me on this, you can take a spoon and you can eat that marmalade directly from the jar into your mouth without putting it on anything else, right, Chris?
My mouth is watering already. We need to stop this subject.
But I will put promise you, I will put the recipe out there. But you need Seville oranges. And Chris, would you like to tell people where because actually I searched for years in this country and couldn't find them. Chris, can you tell people where you got your Seville oranges from?
I don't know the name off the top of my head, but I sourced them at an organic small farm just north of Orlando, Florida.
Okay, so now here's the thing. If you would like to know where Chris got them from, I'm hoping this is okay, Chris, just email rosemary@rosemaryaLtea.com. Ask Chris, where did you get your Seville oranges from? And she'll hopefully write back and tell you exactly where it is.
Yes, I can do
you
that.
Can, and a phone number, because you don't even have to go there. You just call them up and then they send them to you. And so, but you can't make my marmalade. You can make lots of marmalade, with grapefruits, with any kind of thing. But my marmalade requires Seville oranges. Chris.
Mark wants to know, are there musical instruments in the spirit world?
I'm just wondering. You would think, wouldn't you? Because we talk about angels playing harps. I can't honestly say that I've ever seen a musical instrument, but I think there is music. So I have to ask Gregor that. That's an interesting one. Chris.
Frederica is asking, good evening. I'm writing from Italy. I really want to know if my little angel loves me, even if I don't deserve it.
gosh, I wish we had more time for this one. The answer is none of us are perfect. You are human. We all have human faults and failings. But God seems to love us regardless. Jesus seems to love me regardless. I think your little angel loves you regardless of anything you may or may not have done or should have done or feel you should have done, and so on and so forth. And yes, so the answer is yes, your angel loves you.
All right. Rhonda, you know how people talk of finding pennies or dimes from their loved ones? I'm finding quarters. I told my husband it must be because of inflation.
I love it. I just love that. It could be, Rhonda, it could be that as you're getting older, you're getting blind, so they need to put a bigger coin in front of you to make sure you see it. Gotcha. How nice is that? Thank you for that. Anyway, Chris?
Michelino has a question, but I think it might take a bit of your time. Do you want me to read it anyway, or?
Yes.
All right. I have a question regarding my professional life. I have been facing obstacles over the past year. Would you have any advice on this matter? Thank you in advance and warm regards.
This is going to be a really quick answer, okay? Many years ago, Great Eagle said, if we, that meaning those in the spirit world, if we smoothed your path and left no wrinkles, where would your learning process be? In other words, if there were no obstacles, if they smoothed your path and there were no obstacles, there would be no way that you could really learn what you need to learn. Those obstacles are put in your way, not to harm you, but to help you to be brave. And I have a sense from Grey Eagle, who is telling me this, that if you put your mind to something, and it's not always easy to do, but if you put your mind to what it is you want to achieve, though you will see those obstacles as a way of getting over them to get to where you really want to go. And as you climb over them, you'll become stronger and stronger and stronger. And consequently, then more able to do more of what it is you really want to do. So don't see them as obstacles. See them as challenges that you can get over, that you have the strength and the courage to get over and to move through.
Last one.
Oh, okay.
I would like to know, this is from MN. I would like to know if my mom has any messages for me or anyone in my family.
And if we had more time, I'm sure that, we might be able to do a little bit more. I'm looking to Grey Eagle. Oh, hi. I can see a lovely lady here. I don't know who she is. She's definitely connected to you. She's smiling broadly. She didn't think she'd be able to get through to talk to you today. The only thing that she's saying to me is love, 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 love. And you know that song, All We Need Is Love? La 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 la. All we need is love, love. That's for you. There you go. Didn't expect that. I think that is a great note to end on, Chris. So I'd like to say thank you to everybody for watching. I'd like to say thank you to Chris. Most importantly of all, I'd like to say thank you to Grey Eagle because, well, without him, we wouldn't be doing this anyway, would we? So I really appreciate you following. I appreciate you joining in. And hopefully, or if all goes well, we will be here next Thursday. we do have lots of other things planned. We have a live event coming up in Venice in 4 weeks, sometime in November. I shall be there. I will be doing something Friday night. I'll be doing something Saturday during the day, Saturday morning. And I'll be meeting people for pizza and chats and stuff like that on Saturday in the evening. We're going to have a good time. So if you want to know more about that, you can do one of two things. You can email us, Rosemary at rosemaryltea.com, or you can go to Facebook or, talk to Chris, email, and Chris will give you all the details of that. We have a cracking up session coming up. We have Everything is Attitude with my darling friend Al, who she and I are going to be talking about that. We have, oh gosh, wait a minute, it's Halloween. We're going to have a Halloween evening. Anybody locally who wants to come and sit in with me and join with me on Halloween, you are very welcome to. It's only going to cost you about $2,000. I'm kidding. If you can come for free, I'll let you come for free. And if you bring food, I'll be. Yeah, that sounds good too. So if anyone is listening and you're local and you want to come and join me, let me know. Just give us a heads up. And we're going to be doing a Halloween show, which will be really good too. We always have creepy fun on Halloween, don't we? The spirit world starts to play games on us. My dad loves to come and he plays games with us. But we also have some great messages as well. So you can either join us live, come to my house. There, how often do I say that? Or we'll be doing this as we're doing this now. And you'll be able to, there'll be the chat room will be open. You'll be able to ask questions of whatever you want. We've got all sorts going on. So if you want to know more about what's going on with me, please, again, email Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com and we'll give you answers to all the questions that you have. In the meantime, we shall hopefully see you next week. In the meantime, please, everyone, have a very, very blessed rest of the day and have a very, very blessed weekend, everybody. Bye-bye, everybody.